Imagine this. It's 5:30 a.m., and the world is still cloaked in shadow. The streets are silent except for the faint hum of distant machinery and the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by a restless breeze. In an opulent penthouse overlooking a sprawling cityscape, a man sits cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, breathing deeply. He isn't checking his phone or scrolling through emails. He isn't rushing to prepare for meetings or responding to urgent demands. Instead, he's deliberately doing nothing, or at least, nothing that the modern world would recognize as productive. This man controls billions of dollars in assets, yet here he is, beginning his day not with chaos but with stillness. Now imagine yourself waking up at the same time. You reach for your phone, blinded momentarily by its harsh glow as notifications flood your screen, messages from colleagues, updates from social media, reminders about deadlines you haven't even started thinking about. Your heart races before you've even gotten out of bed. A sense of dread creeps in, whispering insidiously that today will be just like yesterday. Overwhelming, fragmented, relentless. Why does one person, a billionaire, begin their day with calm precision while another, the average worker, feels immediately consumed by anxiety? What separates these two mornings? And more importantly, why does it matter? Here lies the paradox. We live in an age where productivity tools, self-help books, and life hacks promise us mastery over our time. Yet most people feel busier than ever, trapped in cycles of exhaustion and dissatisfaction. Meanwhile, some of the wealthiest individuals on Earth seem to operate under entirely different rules. They don't just work harder, they think differently. Their mornings aren't accidents, they're carefully constructed rituals designed to align body, mind, and purpose. But what if these habits weren't reserved solely for those who occupy the upper echelons of wealth? What if the secret to unlocking extraordinary potential wasn't hidden behind bank accounts, but within patterns anyone could adopt? Consider this unsettling truth. Every morning is a fork in the road, a moment when you choose how to shape not only your day but also your life. Do you surrender to the noise, to the endless pings and pressures? Or do you carve out space for intentionality? Billionaires understand something profound. Success isn't merely about working longer hours or acquiring more resources. It's about controlling the narrative of your existence, starting with the first hour after waking. So ask yourself, are you living reactively, letting external forces dictate your rhythm? Or are you actively designing your days with clarity and purpose? But here's the deeper question that gnaws at the edges of consciousness. Is it possible to borrow the habits of billionaires without adopting their privilege? Can someone tethered to the grind of ordinary life truly implement practices that seem tailored for extraordinary circumstances? After all, the billionaire's morning routine often involves private chefs preparing nutrient-dense meals, personal trainers guiding them through bespoke workouts, and assistants managing every logistical detail. How can the rest of us emulate such discipline when our realities are so starkly different? Does the gap between their lives and ours render their routines irrelevant, or does it make them even more instructive? Pause for a moment and reflect. If you had access to the exact blueprint of a billionaire's morning, would you follow it? Would you rise before dawn, meditate in silence, journal your thoughts, exercise with focus, and eat mindfully, all before the sun climbs high enough to cast its light across your desk? Or would you dismiss these actions as impractical luxuries, reserved for those whose wealth insulates them from the struggles of everyday life? Perhaps the real barrier isn't time or money, but belief. Belief that small, deliberate choices made each morning can ripple outward, transforming not just individual moments but entire trajectories. As the horizon begins to blush with the first hints of sunrise, consider the weight of your own mornings. Have they become battlegrounds where stress claims victory before you've even begun? Or are they sanctuaries where you reclaim agency over your thoughts, energy, and intentions? The answers may unsettle you, but they also hold the key to understanding why some people achieve unparalleled success while others remain mired in mediocrity. And yet, beneath this exploration lies an even greater mystery. Why do humans resist change, clinging to habits that sabotage their potential? Why do we allow inertia to dictate our lives when freedom awaits just beyond the threshold of effort? The billionaire's morning routine is not merely a list of tasks, it's a philosophy, a way of being. To uncover its power, we must delve into the psychological and societal forces that shape our daily rhythms. Only then can we begin to dismantle the invisible chains that bind us to ineffective patterns. But beware, this journey requires courage. It demands that you confront uncomfortable truths about yourself and the systems you inhabit. Are you ready to step into the unknown, to challenge everything you thought you knew about productivity, purpose, and possibility? The path ahead is fraught with revelations, and the first step begins with unraveling the hidden problem lurking beneath the surface of your mornings. The hidden problem lies not in the routines themselves, but in the unseen forces that shape how we perceive time, effort, and self-worth. To understand why so many people struggle to adopt even the simplest morning habits, we must delve into the labyrinth of the human psyche, a realm where biology, culture, and philosophy collide. It's here, in this tangled web, that we find the roots of our resistance to change. Consider Carl Jung's concept of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny or suppress because they don't align with our idealized self-image. For many, the inability to embrace a disciplined morning routine is less about laziness and more about an unconscious fear of confronting who we truly are. When you wake up early and sit in silence, there's no distraction, no escape from your own thoughts. This can be terrifying. What if those thoughts reveal dissatisfaction, regret, or doubt? What if the person staring back at you from the mirror of introspection isn't someone you recognize? Or worse, isn't someone you like? The Billionaires' ritualistic morning isn't just about productivity. It's about facing oneself without flinching. Most people avoid this confrontation at all costs, opting instead for the numbing comfort of busyness. But the psychological barriers run deeper still. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." Without a clear sense of purpose, even the most well-intentioned habits feel hollow. The average person wakes up driven by obligation rather than inspiration, by what they must do rather than what they want to become. Billionaires, on the other hand, often operate from a place of intrinsic motivation. Their mornings aren't filled with tasks imposed by external demands, but with actions aligned with their deepest values and long-term vision. This alignment creates momentum, turning discipline into desire. Yet for most, societal conditioning has severed this connection between action and meaning. From childhood, we're taught to prioritize external validation over internal fulfillment, to chase grades, promotions, and accolades as markers of success. These rewards may bring temporary satisfaction, but they rarely provide lasting purpose. And so, when faced with the prospect of designing a meaningful morning, many falter because they lack a compelling why. Arthur Schopenhauer offers another layer of insight. He argued that humans are prisoners of their desires, perpetually caught in cycles of craving and discontent. In modern terms, this manifests as the endless pursuit of novelty and stimulation. Social media, entertainment, and consumerism feed this addiction, creating a culture where patience feels obsolete and instant gratification reigns supreme. Against this backdrop, the idea of spending 20 minutes meditating or journaling seems absurdly slow, almost indulgent. Why sit quietly when you could scroll through headlines, respond to messages, or consume content tailored to hijack your attention? The irony is that these distractions offer only the illusion of progress. They fragment focus, erode willpower, and leave individuals feeling depleted before the day has truly begun. Meanwhile, billionaires, who understand the finite nature of attention, guard it fiercely, refusing to squander their mental energy on trivialities. Jean-Paul Sartre might describe this phenomenon as bad faith, the act of deceiving oneself into believing that one lacks agency. Society reinforces this deception, convincing us that our circumstances dictate our choices. If you're not wealthy, the narrative goes, then adopting the habits of the wealthy is futile. But this belief ignores the fundamental truth that habits precede outcomes, not the other way around. Every billionaire was once a beginner, navigating the same constraints as everyone else. What sets them apart isn't privilege alone, it's perspective. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps, famously asserted that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. This principle applies equally to mornings. Even if life imposes limitations, you still possess the freedom to choose how you begin each day. Yet exercising this freedom requires rejecting the victim mentality perpetuated by society, and that rejection begins with awareness. Aldous Huxley explored similar themes in his dystopian masterpiece Brave New World, where humanity sacrifices autonomy for comfort. Today, this trade-off plays out subtly but pervasively. People willingly surrender their mornings to technology, allowing algorithms to dictate their mood, priorities, and even identity. The smartphone becomes a digital leash, tethering individuals to a relentless stream of information and demands. By contrast, billionaires often impose strict boundaries on their use of technology, recognizing its potential to distort reality and dilute focus. This deliberate disconnection isn't elitist arrogance, it's strategic survival. But breaking free from technological dependency requires confronting uncomfortable questions. Who am I without constant connectivity? Can I tolerate solitude without seeking solace in screens? These queries strike at the heart of modern identity, challenging deeply ingrained assumptions about what it means to be relevant, engaged, or valuable. The interplay of psychology and philosophy reveals yet another dimension, the role of cognitive biases. Humans are wired to favor short-term gains over long-term benefits, a tendency known as hyperbolic discounting. Choosing immediate pleasure, hitting snooze, scrolling through social media, skipping exercise, feels irresistibly gratifying in the moment, even though it undermines future well-being. Conversely, investing time in activities like meditation or mindful eating yields delayed rewards that seem abstract and distant. This bias explains why adopting a billionaire's morning routine feels unnatural at first. It defies instinctual impulses, requiring conscious effort to override default behaviors. Overcoming this resistance necessitates reframing the relationship between present sacrifice and future payoff, a process akin to rewiring the brain. Cultural conditioning further compounds the challenge. Capitalism glorifies hustle culture, equating worth with output. Under this paradigm, rest appears lazy, reflection seems indulgent, and self-care smacks of selfishness. As a result, people equate waking up early with jumping straight into work, mistaking busyness for productivity. Billionaires reject this binary, understanding that true effectiveness stems from balance. Their mornings emphasize renewal as much as achievement, cultivating resilience to sustain high performance throughout the day. However, embracing this counterintuitive approach demands rejecting societal norms, a daunting proposition for anyone embedded within the system. And so, the hidden problem crystallizes. The difficulty of adopting billionaire-like habits stems not from practical obstacles, but from existential ones. It's not just about finding time to meditate or muster the energy to exercise. It's about confronting fears, redefining success, and reclaiming agency in a world designed to strip it away. Each morning presents an opportunity to rewrite the script, but doing so requires dismantling the invisible forces that hold us captive. These unseen consequences ripple far beyond individual mornings, shaping not only personal trajectories, but also societal structures. The cumulative effect of neglecting intentional habits manifests in ways both subtle and profound, influencing everything from mental health to economic disparity. To grasp the magnitude of this impact, we must zoom out and examine how these patterns silently orchestrate the human experience. Consider the neurological toll of chaotic mornings. When you wake up and immediately immerse yourself in reactive behaviors, checking emails, scrolling through social media, or rushing to meet external demands, you activate the brain's stress response. Cortisol floods your system, priming you for fight or flight even though no physical threat exists. Over time, this chronic activation erodes cognitive function, impairing memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation. It's no coincidence that rates of anxiety and depression have surged in tandem with the rise of hyper-connected lifestyles. What might seem like harmless habits, glancing at your phone before getting out of bed, skipping breakfast to save time, are actually insidious contributors to a global mental health crisis. By contrast, billionaires who prioritize calm and structure in their mornings create a neurochemical environment conducive to focus, creativity, and resilience. Their routines aren't indulgences, they're investments in long-term well-being. But the consequences extend beyond the individual. On a societal level, fragmented mornings perpetuate cycles of inequality. Think about it. If the wealthy elite begin their days with practices that enhance clarity, energy, and purpose, while the majority stumble into chaos, the gap between these groups widens exponentially. Success isn't merely a product of talent or effort, it's heavily influenced by daily habits that compound over time. Compound interest works not just for money, but for mindset, skills, and relationships. Those who fail to harness this principle find themselves trapped in a vicious cycle where poor habits breed poor outcomes, which in turn reinforce those same habits. Meanwhile, those who master the art of intentionality accelerate away from the pack, creating a feedback loop of ever-increasing advantage. This dynamic isn't inherently malicious, it's mathematical, but its implications are deeply troubling. A society divided by habit is a society divided by opportunity. The cultural ramifications are equally significant. Modern life glorifies immediacy, rewarding quick fixes over sustained effort. This preference shapes not only how people start their days, but also how they approach challenges and goals. Consider the widespread obsession with hacks and shortcuts. Rather than committing to consistent, incremental progress, individuals seek instant transformation, a magic pill, a viral trend, a life-changing app. This mentality undermines the value of discipline, fostering a culture of impatience and superficiality. Billionaires operate from the opposite paradigm. They understand that mastery takes time, that excellence is earned through repetition, and that shortcuts often lead to dead ends. Their mornings reflect this philosophy, emphasizing deliberate practice over fleeting gains. Yet for most, the allure of rapid results proves irresistible, reinforcing a collective identity rooted in consumption rather than creation. This identity crisis extends to the workplace, where the ripple effects of disordered mornings manifest as decreased productivity and engagement. Employees who arrive at work already frazzled struggle to concentrate, make decisions, or collaborate effectively. They compensate by working longer hours, further depleting their energy reserves and compounding the problem. Organizations respond by implementing policies aimed at boosting efficiency, flexible schedules, wellness programs, remote work options, but these solutions often miss the root cause. Without addressing the foundational issue of how employees begin their days, such initiatives remain band-aids on bullet wounds. True transformation requires shifting the cultural narrative around mornings, reframing them as sacred spaces for preparation rather than battlegrounds for survival. Philosophically, this erosion of morning rituals reflects a broader existential dilemma, the loss of sovereignty over one's own life. In the myth of Sisyphus, Albert Camus explored the absurdity of human existence, the tension between our desire for meaning and the universe's indifference. For many, mornings embody this absurdity. Waking up feels less like a fresh start and more like resuming an endless, futile struggle against forces beyond control. Billionaires disrupt this narrative by asserting agency over their mornings. They refuse to accept the default settings of modern life, choosing instead to craft routines that align with their values and aspirations. This act of rebellion isn't just practical, it's profoundly philosophical. It declares that despite the randomness of circumstance, individuals possess the power to impose order on chaos, to carve meaning from meaninglessness. Yet the stakes grow higher still when viewed through the lens of intergenerational impact. Habits formed today shape the world of tomorrow. Children raised in households where mornings are frantic and fragmented internalize these patterns, perpetuating them across generations. Conversely, children exposed to structured, mindful mornings learn to approach life with intentionality and balance. The billionaire's commitment to routine isn't selfish, it's generative. It creates ripples that extend far beyond their immediate sphere of influence, contributing to a legacy of empowerment and possibility. But what happens when entire communities lack access to such models? When schools fail to teach the importance of self-discipline, when parents lack the resources to model healthy habits, when systemic inequities stack the deck against meaningful change. The result is a widening chasm between those who thrive and those who merely survive, a chasm that begins with something as seemingly innocuous as how we spend our mornings. And so, the unseen consequences crystallize into a sobering reality. Mornings are not neutral. They are battlegrounds where the future is forged, one decision at a time. Every choice, to meditate or scroll, to move or stagnate, to plan or react, carries weight, shaping not only individual lives but also the fabric of society itself. The challenge lies in recognizing this truth before it's too late. Because once the pattern becomes entrenched, breaking free requires Herculean effort. Awareness is the first step, but awareness alone isn't enough. To escape this trap, we must uncover a radical shift in perspective, a breakthrough that redefines what mornings mean and why they matter. Only then can we reclaim control, transforming mornings from mundane obligations into powerful opportunities for growth and transformation. The question remains, are you ready to rebel against the status quo and embrace a new way of being? To break free from the unseen forces that govern our mornings, and by extension, our lives. we must first confront a radical truth. Rebellion begins not with action, but with mindset. The habits of billionaires are not magical formulas handed down from on high. They are expressions of a deeper philosophy, one that challenges conventional wisdom and dares to reimagine what is possible. This shift in perspective requires dismantling long-held assumptions about productivity, success, and self-worth. It demands rejecting the notion that mornings are merely utilitarian transitions into the real work of the day. Instead, we must see them as sacred rituals, opportunities to recalibrate our inner compass and set the tone for everything that follows. Consider this counterintuitive idea: doing less can yield more. In a world obsessed with optimization and efficiency, the billionaire's morning routine often emphasizes simplicity over complexity. Rather than cramming every minute with tasks, these individuals create spaciousness, a deliberate slowing down that allows for clarity and intentionality. This principle aligns with the Taoist concept of Wu Wei, or non-doing, which suggests that true power lies in effortless action. By prioritizing stillness, reflection, and presence, billionaires tap into a wellspring of energy and insight that fuels their achievements. For most people, however, the idea of doing nothing feels indulgent, even irresponsible. Yet history shows us that some of humanity's greatest breakthroughs have emerged from moments of quiet contemplation. Newton's discovery of gravity under an apple tree, Einstein's theory of relativity during solitary walks. These were not products of relentless activity, but of mindful pause. To adopt this mindset is to recognize that rest isn't laziness, it's preparation. But how does one cultivate such a mindset when conditioned to equate busyness with value? The answer lies in embracing discomfort. Change rarely feels comfortable, especially when it involves confronting deeply ingrained habits. Viktor Frankl's assertion that suffering ceases to be suffering when it has meaning applies here. The initial resistance to waking up earlier, meditating, or journaling may feel like a burden, but reframing these actions as investments in your future self transforms the experience. Each small act of discipline becomes a declaration of autonomy, a way of saying, I am the architect of my life. Over time, this sense of agency compounds, creating a feedback loop where effort generates momentum and momentum fuels further effort. Historical examples abound of individuals who broke free from societal constraints to forge their own paths. Take Benjamin Franklin, whose daily schedule included rising at 5 a.m. to ask himself, what good shall I do this day? His mornings weren't just routines, they were declarations of purpose. Similarly, Oprah Winfrey credits her practice of meditation and gratitude journaling with helping her navigate the pressures of fame and fortune. These figures didn't wait for permission to redefine their mornings. They seized control, crafting rituals that aligned with their values and aspirations. Their stories remind us that while circumstances may differ, the principles of intentionality and discipline remain universal. Of course, adopting such practices requires navigating practical challenges. Not everyone has access to private gyms, personal chefs, or assistants to manage logistics. But resourcefulness often breeds creativity. A billionaire's workout might involve state-of-the-art equipment, but yours could be a brisk walk around the block. Their meditation session might take place in a tranquil garden, but yours can unfold on a quiet corner of your apartment. The key is adaptability, finding ways to embody the spirit of these habits within the constraints of your reality. Remember, the essence of a billionaire's morning isn't the trappings of wealth. It's the commitment to starting each day with purpose. This rebellion against convention also entails redefining success itself. Too often, society measures achievement in external terms: money, titles, accolades, ignoring the internal dimensions of fulfillment, growth, and contribution. Billionaires who prioritize meaningful mornings understand that true success isn't a destination, it's a journey. They view each day as an opportunity to evolve, to become slightly better versions of themselves. This growth-oriented mindset shifts the focus from outcomes to processes, from results to efforts. Instead of asking, what will I accomplish today? They ask, who will I choose to be today? This subtle yet profound reframing liberates individuals from the tyranny of perfectionism, allowing them to embrace progress over perfection. To implement this paradigm shift, consider adopting a three-step framework: awareness, alignment, and action. Begin by cultivating awareness of your current morning habits. Track how you spend the first hour after waking, not to judge, but to observe. What patterns emerge? How do these choices affect your mood, energy, and focus? Next, seek alignment by identifying activities that resonate with your values and goals. Perhaps it's reading instead of scrolling, stretching instead of rushing, or writing down 3 things you're grateful for instead of diving into emails. Finally, commit to action by designing a morning routine that incorporates these practices. Start small, 1 or 2 changes at a time, and build gradually. Consistency matters more than intensity. The goal is to create sustainable habits, not unsustainable sprints. As you embark on this journey, keep in mind that rebellion isn't about replicating someone else's life. It's about reclaiming your own. Billionaires offer valuable lessons, but their routines aren't blueprints. They're inspirations. Your mornings should reflect your unique needs, desires, and circumstances. Maybe you're not aiming to build a billion-dollar empire, but perhaps you want to deepen your relationships, pursue a passion project, or simply feel more grounded and present. Whatever your vision, let it guide your choices. Let it infuse your mornings with meaning and possibility. And so, the rebellion unfolds, not as a rejection of the world, but as a reclamation of oneself. By breaking free from the invisible chains of habit, expectation, and conditioning, you step into a new way of being. Mornings cease to be obligations and become opportunities. Days transform from reactive scrambles into intentional creations. Life itself takes on a different hue, vibrant with potential and purpose. But remember, this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, persistence, and faith in the process. As Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Find your why, and the how will follow. Now, armed with this newfound perspective, you stand poised to uncover the ultimate truth, the revelation that will redefine not just your mornings, but your entire existence. What awaits is not merely insight, but illumination, a glimpse into the deepest currents of human potential. Are you ready to dive in? The ultimate truth emerges not as a single revelation, but as a symphony of interconnected insights, each note resonating with the others to form a transcendent understanding. At its core lies this realization: mornings are not merely beginnings, they are microcosms of life itself. How you approach your mornings reflects how you approach existence, whether you drift through it unconsciously or navigate it with purposeful intent. This paradigm shift redefines mornings as more than routines. They become laboratories for living fully, arenas where the art of being human is practiced and perfected. Consider the philosophical implications of this perspective. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre argued that humans are condemned to freedom, burdened by the responsibility of creating their own meaning in an indifferent universe. Mornings embody this existential condition in its purest form. Each sunrise offers a blank canvas, untouched by yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's uncertainties. What you choose to paint upon it reveals not just your priorities, but your essence. Do you fill it with chaos and noise, mirroring a fragmented world? Or do you craft something deliberate, harmonious, reflective of the life you wish to lead? The billionaire's disciplined morning isn't about wealth, it's about sovereignty. It's about asserting dominion over one's inner landscape, refusing to let external forces dictate the narrative of one's day or one's life. This revelation extends beyond individual agency to touch the collective consciousness. Societies thrive or falter based on the habits of their members. When mornings are treated as sacred spaces for renewal and preparation, communities flourish with creativity, resilience, and collaboration. Conversely, when mornings devolve into frantic scrambles, the ripple effects cascade outward, eroding productivity, empathy, and innovation. Imagine a world where every person began their day with intentionality, a world where schools taught children the value of mindful starts, workplaces encouraged employees to prioritize well-being, and government supported policies fostering balance over burnout. Such a vision may seem utopian, yet it underscores a profound truth. The quality of our mornings shapes the destiny of our civilizations. But what makes this insight so transformative is its universality. Unlike wealth or status, which remain inaccessible to many, mornings belong to everyone. Rich or poor, powerful or powerless, each individual possesses 24 hours in a day, and the first few set the tone for all that follows. This democratization of potential renders excuses obsolete. No matter your circumstances, you have the capacity to design a morning ritual that aligns with your values and aspirations. Perhaps your routine includes sipping tea while watching the sunrise, jotting thoughts in a journal, or simply sitting in silence, listening to the rhythm of your breath. These acts might appear modest, but their cumulative impact is monumental. They remind you that you are not passive recipients of fate. You are active participants in shaping it. Yet the deepest layer of this realization transcends even personal empowerment. It touches the metaphysical, the recognition that time itself is both finite and infinite. Finite in the sense that each moment passes irretrievably, never to return. Infinite in the sense that within each moment lies boundless possibility. Mornings amplify this duality. They mark the end of darkness and the birth of light, symbolizing renewal amidst impermanence. To embrace this paradox is to live with heightened awareness, cherishing the fleeting while aspiring toward the eternal. Billionaires understand this intuitively, which is why their mornings often include practices that connect them to something greater than themselves: meditation, prayer, immersion in nature. These activities aren't luxuries. They're anchors grounding them in the present, reminding them of their place within the grand tapestry of existence. Arthur Schopenhauer once described life as a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. Yet mornings offer a third option: joy. Not the fleeting pleasure derived from external stimuli, but the deep, abiding contentment born of alignment with one's true self. This joy doesn't depend on material success or societal approval. It arises from authenticity, from living in accordance with one's values and convictions. When mornings are infused with such joy, they cease to be chores and become celebrations, a daily reaffirmation of life's beauty and mystery. This transformation alters not only how you perceive mornings, but how you experience life itself. Days stretch longer, moments feel richer, and challenges lose their sting, replaced by a quiet confidence that stems from knowing who you are and why you're here. And so, the final revelation crystallizes. Mornings hold the key to unlocking the full spectrum of human potential. They are not isolated fragments of time, but integral threads woven into the fabric of our days, months, years. To neglect them is to squander opportunities for growth, connection, and transcendence. To honor them is to embrace the extraordinary within the ordinary, finding profundity in simplicity. The billionaire's morning routine isn't a secret formula reserved for the elite. It's a map leading to the heart of what it means to be alive. As the sun rises once more, casting its golden light across the horizon, ask yourself, who will I choose to be today? Will I surrender to habit and haste, allowing life to happen to me? Or will I seize the reins, crafting a morning and a life that reflects my highest ideals? The answers lie not in distant horizons, but in the quiet moments before dawn, waiting to be discovered. And in those discoveries, you'll find not just success, but significance, not just achievement, but fulfillment. For in the end, the greatest wealth isn't measured in dollars or possessions. It's found in the richness of a life lived with purpose, passion, and presence. Extraordinary takes root. The billionaire's secret isn't some hidden formula inaccessible to the rest of us. It's the understanding that greatness doesn't require grand gestures. It thrives in consistency, in the small, deliberate choices made moment by moment, day by day. Like drops of water carving canyons over centuries, these choices shape destinies, transforming the seemingly insignificant into the profoundly impactful. So, as you stand once more on the precipice of a new morning, remember this: you hold within you the power to create worlds. With every breath, every thought, every action, you weave the fabric of your reality. The billionaire's habits offer guidance, yes, but they are not commandments. They are sparks meant to ignite your own fire, to illuminate the path only you can walk. What will you build with the clay of your days? What masterpiece will emerge from the mosaic of your mornings? Let the answer guide you, not out of obligation, but out of love. Love for the life you've been given, love for the person you're becoming, love for the infinite potential that resides within you. For in the end, the greatest legacy isn't wealth amassed or accolades earned. It's the light you leave behind, the ripples you send forth, the lives you touch along the way. And it all begins with a single step, a decision to rise, to breathe, to begin again. Now, as the sun climbs higher, casting its glow across the earth, take a moment to pause. Feel the weight of the day ahead, not as a burden, but as a blessing. Know that within you lies everything you need to navigate it with grace, purpose, and joy. The morning awaits, pregnant with possibility. Will you answer its call? The morning awaits, pregnant with possibility. Will you answer its call? This question lingers like a whisper in the stillness, urging you to step forward, not out of obligation, but out of an unshakable knowing that you are capable of more than you've allowed yourself to believe. It is here, in this liminal space between dreaming and doing, that the final truth crystallizes. Mornings are not just about routines or rituals, they are about resurrection. Each sunrise offers a chance to rise anew, to shed the skin of yesterday's limitations and step into the boundless potential of today. This resurrection is not metaphorical, it is visceral, tangible, immediate. Picture yourself waking up tomorrow, not with dread or resignation, but with anticipation. The air feels crisp, charged with promise. Your body moves with purpose, no longer burdened by inertia but propelled by intention. As you breathe deeply, you feel the weight of stagnation lifting, replaced by a buoyant energy that courses through your veins. This transformation isn't magical, it's mechanical. It's the result of small, deliberate choices compounded over time, choices rooted in the understanding that every action, no matter how minor, contributes to the architecture of your existence. But what makes this realization so revolutionary is its accessibility. Unlike wealth or status, which remain gated behind barriers of privilege, mornings belong to everyone equally. They're the great equalizer, offering each person the same 24 hours, the same opportunity to begin again. Yet most squander this gift, surrendering their mornings, and by extension, their lives, to forces outside themselves. They allow alarms to dictate their rhythm, notifications to hijack their attention, obligations to consume their energy. In doing so, they relinquish control, trading autonomy for chaos. The billionaire's secret lies not in escaping these forces but in mastering them. Their mornings aren't shielded from demands, they're fortified against them. And this mastery is available to anyone willing to claim it. To embrace this paradigm shift is to embark on a journey of self-discovery, one that transcends the boundaries of productivity and ventures into the realm of philosophy. Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the Superman, who creates their own values and lives authentically, comes to mind. While Nietzsche envisioned this figure as a radical departure from societal norms, the essence of the Übermensch resides within each of us. To design a morning that aligns with your deepest truths is to embody this ideal, to assert your sovereignty over the narrative of your life. You become both creator and creation, sculpting yourself anew with each passing day. Yet this process is neither linear nor easy. It requires confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself and the world around you. It demands dismantling long-held beliefs that no longer serve you, shedding layers of conditioning that obscure your authentic self. This shedding can feel like loss, like grief, as though you're leaving behind pieces of who you once were. But in letting go, you make space for something greater, a version of yourself unencumbered by fear, doubt, or limitation. This version doesn't emerge fully formed. It evolves, shaped by the choices you make in those quiet hours before dawn. Consider the ripple effects of such evolution. When you approach mornings with reverence and discipline, you send waves of positivity outward, influencing not only your own trajectory but also the lives of those around you. Your calm presence soothes anxious minds. Your focused energy inspires distracted hearts. Your unwavering commitment emboldens wavering spirits. In this way, mornings become acts of service, contributions to the collective well-being. The billionaire's impact extends far beyond financial success because their habits foster environments where excellence thrives. Similarly, your mornings have the power to elevate not just yourself but entire communities. And yet, the ultimate measure of success isn't external validation but internal alignment. To live in harmony with your values, to move through the world with integrity and grace, these are the hallmarks of a life well lived. The billionaire's routine may include meditation, exercise, journaling, or other practices, but its true essence lies in congruence. Every action reflects a deeper truth. Every habit reinforces a core belief. This alignment creates a sense of wholeness, a feeling of being exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do. It transforms mornings from mere beginnings into profound continuations, a seamless flow between who you are and who you aspire to become. As the sun reaches its zenith, casting long shadows across the landscape, pause to reflect on the path you've traveled thus far. What patterns have emerged? What lessons have surfaced? How have your mornings shaped not only your days but your identity? These questions aren't rhetorical, they're invitations to introspection, tools for refining your approach to living. For in the answers lie the seeds of future growth, waiting to be planted in the fertile soil of tomorrow's dawn. Now, as twilight approaches and the cycle prepares to renew itself, consider the legacy you wish to leave behind. Not in terms of material wealth or accolades earned, but in terms of moments cherished, connections deepened, lives touched. Imagine standing at the end of your journey, looking back on a lifetime of mornings spent intentionally, purposefully, joyfully. Would you feel regret or gratitude? The choice is yours to make, starting now, starting today, starting with the next sunrise. So rise. Rise not because you must, but because you can. Because within you burns a spark that refuses to be extinguished, a light that yearns to illuminate the darkness. Let your mornings be the fuel for this fire, the foundation upon which you build a life of meaning and fulfillment. And as you take that first step into the unknown, remember this: the greatest wealth isn't found in bank accounts or boardrooms. It's found in the richness of a soul awakened, a spirit unbound, a heart ablaze with possibility. The morning awaits. Answer its call. The morning awaits, but it does not wait. It is relentless, unforgiving in its constancy, yet infinitely generous in its offerings. Each dawn arrives without judgment, extending an invitation that is both tender and urgent. Begin again. This whisper, this call to renewal, is the thread that weaves through every facet of existence, binding the personal to the universal, the mundane to the divine. To heed this call is to step into the eternal now, where past regrets dissolve and future anxieties fade, leaving only the pulsing aliveness of the present moment. But how do you answer such a call when the weight of habit presses down upon you like stone? How do you rise when inertia threatens to pin you to the mattress, when the allure of comfort beckons with promises of ease? The answer lies not in brute force or sheer willpower, but in surrender, a paradoxical act of yielding to something greater than yourself. Surrender here doesn't mean giving up, it means letting go. Letting go of the stories you've told yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. Letting go of the fears that have kept you tethered to mediocrity. Letting go of the illusion that tomorrow will be different if today remains unchanged. In surrendering to the possibility of transformation, you unlock the door to a new way of being. This new way of being begins with presence, the radical decision to show up fully, without reservation, for each unfolding moment. Presence isn't passive, it's active, demanding your full attention and engagement. When you wake up and choose to breathe deeply instead of reaching for your phone, you are practicing presence. When you sit quietly with your thoughts instead of rushing to silence them, you are practicing presence. When you savor the warmth of sunlight on your skin or the taste of coffee on your tongue, you are practicing presence. These moments may seem small, almost inconsequential, but they are the building blocks of a life lived authentically. They remind you that existence itself is enough, that simply being is a form of abundance. Presence also requires vulnerability, the courage to face whatever arises without flinching. Mornings can be mirrors, reflecting back parts of ourselves we'd rather avoid. Fatigue, doubt, loneliness, fear. These emotions don't disappear because you ignore them. They fester, growing louder until they demand acknowledgement. Billionaires understand this implicitly, which is why their routines often include practices like journaling or meditation, tools for confronting discomfort head-on. By sitting with these feelings, by naming them and allowing them to exist without resistance, you disarm their power over you. You realize that pain is not the enemy, avoidance is. And in embracing this truth, you reclaim agency over your inner world. Yet presence alone is insufficient without purpose. To move through mornings and life with intention requires clarity about what truly matters to you. Purpose isn't something you find. It's something you create, shaped by your values, passions, and aspirations. For some, purpose might manifest as raising compassionate children, contributing to scientific discovery, or fostering community connection. For others, it might mean pursuing creative expression, advocating for justice, or cultivating inner peace. Whatever form it takes, purpose acts as a compass, guiding your decisions and aligning your actions with your deepest truths. Without purpose, mornings risk becoming hollow exercises in productivity. With purpose, they become sacred rituals of meaning-making. And so, the ultimate realization crystallizes. Mornings are not isolated events, but integral threads woven into the tapestry of eternity. They connect us not only to ourselves, but to everything else, to the earth beneath our feet, the stars above our heads, the generations that came before us, and those yet to come. To honor this interconnectedness is to live with reverence, recognizing that every choice ripples outward, touching lives unseen and worlds unknown. The billionaire's disciplined routine reflects this understanding, however unconsciously. Their commitment to excellence stems not from ego but from responsibility, a recognition that their actions have consequences far beyond their immediate sphere of influence. This interconnectedness invites humility, a profound awareness of one's place within the vast web of existence. Humility doesn't diminish individual significance. It amplifies it by situating personal growth within the context of collective evolution. When you approach mornings with humility, you acknowledge that your journey is part of a larger story, that your successes and failures contribute to humanity's ongoing narrative. This perspective fosters gratitude, dissolving the illusion of separation and replacing it with a sense of belonging. Gratitude, in turn, fuels generosity, not just in material terms, but in emotional and spiritual ones. A grateful heart naturally seeks to give, to share its blessings with others, creating a virtuous cycle of reciprocity. As night falls once more and the horizon blushes with the promise of another sunrise, consider the legacy you leave behind, not in monuments or memorials, but in moments. Moments of kindness, curiosity, courage. Moments that affirm life's beauty and complexity. Moments that inspire others to seek their own light. These moments accumulate, forming a mosaic of memory that transcends time. And though the details may fade, the essence endures, carried forward by those whose lives you've touched. Now, as you prepare to close your eyes and surrender to sleep, carry this thought with you. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, but today is still yours to shape. Whether you wake to alarms or birdsong, chaos or calm, remember that each morning offers a fresh start, a blank page waiting to be written. What will you inscribe upon it? Will you fill it with fear or faith, doubt or determination, stagnation or growth? The pen rests in your hand, poised above the parchment of possibility. Write boldly, write bravely, write with the knowledge that every word contributes to the symphony of existence. For in the end, the greatest wealth isn't measured in dollars or accolades, but in the richness of a life fully lived. A life where mornings aren't burdens, but blessings, where routines aren't obligations, but opportunities, where existence isn't endured, but celebrated. The billionaire's secret isn't wealth, it's wisdom. Wisdom born of discipline, cultivated through reflection, expressed through action. And this wisdom is available to anyone willing to embrace it. So rise. Rise not because you must, but because you can. Because within you burns a spark that refuses to be extinguished, a light that yearns to illuminate the darkness. Let your mornings be the fuel for this fire, the foundation upon which you build a life of meaning and fulfillment. And as you take that first step into the unknown, remember this: the greatest wealth isn't found in bank accounts or boardrooms. It's found in the richness of a soul awakened, a spirit unbound, a heart ablaze with possibility. The morning awaits. Answer its call. The morning awaits, but its call is not one of obligation. It is an invitation. An invitation to step into the vast expanse of possibility that stretches before you, unmarred by yesterday's failures or tomorrow's uncertainties. It asks nothing of you except your willingness to begin again, to trust in the process of becoming. This trust is not blind faith. It is grounded in the understanding that every sunrise brings with it the raw materials for reinvention. The canvas may be blank, but the paints are vibrant, the brush is ready. Will you pick them up? To answer this call is to embrace a paradox. Mornings demand effort, yet they reward surrender. They require discipline, the steady commitment to show up, even when motivation wanes. But they also ask for softness, for the grace to let go of perfectionism and simply be. This duality mirrors life itself. We strive, we rest, we act, we reflect, we create, we release. Billionaires who structure their mornings around this balance understand that success isn't about relentless pursuit, but about harmonizing opposing forces. Their routines aren't rigid scripts, but fluid dances between doing and being, achieving and accepting. Yet, beneath this dance lies a deeper truth, one that transcends productivity, wealth, or external validation. Mornings are sacred because they remind us of our mortality. Each new day is a gift precisely because it is finite. The billionaire's disciplined approach to mornings isn't driven by fear of wasting time, but by reverence for its fleeting nature. They know that time cannot be stored or reclaimed. It can only be spent. And so, they spend it wisely, not on trivialities that numb the soul, but on practices that nourish it. Meditation, movement, reflection, creation, these acts honor the sanctity of existence, transforming ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. This awareness of impermanence has profound implications. It strips away the illusion of permanence, forcing us to confront the fragility of life. But rather than inducing despair, this confrontation sparks urgency, a clarion call to live fully, authentically, intentionally. When you wake up knowing that today could be your last, how would you choose to spend it? What relationships would you prioritize? What passions would you pursue? What fears would you face? These questions aren't morbid, they're liberating. They strip away the noise, revealing what truly matters. And in doing so, they illuminate the path forward. But finding this path requires courage, the kind that comes from looking inward rather than outward. Society bombards us with messages about what success looks like: titles, bank accounts, possessions. Yet these markers often ring hollow, failing to satisfy the deeper yearnings of the human spirit. True courage lies in rejecting these external measures and defining success on your own terms. For some, success might mean building a business empire. For others, it might mean cultivating a garden, writing a novel, or raising empathetic children. The billionaire's routine reflects this inner alignment, prioritizing activities that resonate with their unique vision of fulfillment. Your mornings should do the same. This alignment is both liberating and demanding. Liberating because it frees you from the tyranny of comparison, allowing you to focus on what brings you joy and meaning. Demanding because it requires honesty about your values, your desires, your limitations. Honesty can be uncomfortable, especially when it reveals gaps between who you are and who you want to be. But discomfort is fertile soil for growth. Without it, change remains elusive. Embrace the tension, lean into the struggle, and trust that transformation emerges from the friction. Transformation, however, is rarely linear. Like waves crashing against the shore, progress ebbs and flows, advancing and retreating in unpredictable rhythms. Some mornings will feel triumphant, filled with clarity and momentum. Others will feel heavy, clouded by doubt or fatigue. Both are part of the journey. The billionaire's consistency stems not from immunity to setbacks, but from resilience in the face of them. They understand that mastery isn't about avoiding failure. It's about persisting through it. Every stumble offers lessons. Every misstep provides data. To rise after falling is to embody strength, not the brittle strength of invincibility, but the supple strength of adaptability. And yet, persistence without perspective risks burnout. The billionaire's secret weapon isn't relentless hustle, but strategic rest. Their mornings often include periods of stillness, meditation, journaling, quiet contemplation, not as indulgences, but as necessities. These pauses recharge the mind, recalibrate the body, and reconnect the spirit. They serve as reminders that productivity is not the ultimate goal, well-being is. A life built solely on achievement is a house of cards, vulnerable to collapse under the weight of expectation. Sustainable success integrates effort with ease, ambition with acceptance. As dawn breaks once more, casting its golden light across the horizon, consider the legacy you wish to leave behind, not in terms of accomplishments, but in terms of impact. Legacy isn't confined to grand gestures or monumental achievements. It lives in the small, everyday interactions that ripple outward, touching lives unseen. A smile shared with a stranger, a word of encouragement offered to a friend, a moment of presence given to a loved one. These acts may seem insignificant, but their cumulative effect is profound. They shape the world in ways large and small, creating a tapestry of connection and care. Now, as you stand at the threshold of another day, remember this. Mornings are not just beginnings. They are continuations. Continuations of choices made yesterday, continuations of habits formed over months and years, continuations of the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of. To change the story is to change the outcome. Start small. Begin with one habit, one ritual, one decision that aligns with the person you wish to become. Let each morning reinforce this alignment, until the gap between who you are and who you aspire to be narrows to nothing. In this narrowing lies freedom, the freedom to live authentically, to move through the world with purpose and presence. Freedom doesn't mean escaping responsibility. It means embracing it, owning it, shaping it to fit your vision. Freedom isn't found in isolation, but in connection with yourself, with others, with the universe. It is expansive, inclusive, infinite, and it begins with a single step, rising to meet the day. So rise. Rise not because the world demands it, but because you deserve it. Because within you lies a spark that refuses to be extinguished, a light that yearns to illuminate the darkness. Let your mornings fan this flame, nurturing it with intention, attention, and love. And as you take that first step into the unknown, remember this. The greatest wealth isn't measured in dollars or accolades, but in the richness of a soul awakened, a spirit unbound, a heart ablaze with possibility. The morning awaits. Answer its call.